Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard the new Cloud Cold album Alchemy Creek yet, but yo,
that's my Jawn!
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. You're tasting things that don't need to be measured. What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. I don't have a Jawn pun for you, a.k.a. Nate 3.0. Back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I am joined by singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist Gabi Rose for a chat about her music and her band In Rose. It's a super fun talk, and that's coming up in a minute. But first, okay, here we are on the back end of the summer, and I am finally ready to take a break. So the show will be going on a hiatus for a bit. For how long? I'm not sure. I need some time to reevaluate, get some things together. But in the meantime, like I said before, check out Too Old, Too New and Oops All Bards. Still some content coming on those. Or, go revisit some of the old interviews here. One you loved, one you missed. Who knows? There's over 100 hours recorded of my dumb voice out there. There is plenty to hold you over. But I don't know. I love doing this show, and I love that people enjoy listening to it, and I appreciate everyone who has given their time to talk to me, and everyone who has spent 2 seconds listening to it. I've accomplished dreams I didn't even know were obtainable with this show, and I am completely humbled by your love and support over the years. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. For real. There's a little kid who used to talk into a tape recorder and pretend he had a talk show. And to fulfill his dream, that will forever put a smile on my face. And as a matter of fact, let's hear from him.
This is Larry Schmuck introducing you to Mr. Crawford of Crawford Cow and Cookie Company. Mr. Crawford, you have a new idea. What's your new idea?
Well, we put these little cookies into tobacco sauce, and then we mix it together, make all this milk, put rocks and stones in it, then put it on the cow meat, and then we cook the cow. Nothing will happen to it. It is Adam proof, Rachel proof, and also no germs can take it apart or anything, because it's everything proof, and nothing can destroy it.
Then how come you're not giving this to the government?
Because it's my idea. I don't want to give them nothing.
The absolute best. But the show isn't over yet. I got an incredible guest and a tremendous conversation for you to head into this break, so let's do it! My guest today is a saxophonist, singer, multi-instrumentalist, and songwriter from New York, highly acclaimed for her rock and roll style, her soulful voice, and her bright red hair. She has become well known for being a touring band member of the alt-rock group Bill Murray, as well as pop superstars the Jonas Brothers. She's also the songwriter and founding member of her R&B rock group In Rose, and is also known for being a leading player in the New York City, New Jersey club scene, alongside world-class bands, DJs, and musicians. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show, Gabi Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Gabi Rose. Gabi, thank you for joining me on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and see where it goes.
I am too. I have been a big fan of the My Happiness EP. It's one of my favorite things that has come out this year. So I've been super excited to be able to chat, and I'm glad we were able to get this thing happening.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So I always like to start these things off with a little bit of the Wayback Machine. Tell me a little bit about little Gabi. Where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island, New York. It's on Long Island, not in Long Island, although I sometimes even still make that mistake. But I grew up in New York, and it was cool because, I know I know now, especially like having traveled and having met so many other people and musicians throughout not only the US, but the world, that there's just not very many music programs always. Like it's a crapshoot. And so I'm literally a musician because I was lucky enough to have a music program in my school, because I'm the first musician of my family, at least professionally. My dad played a little bit of guitar and he sold it when they had kids. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, my parents, especially my dad, always been very into music. So I grew up listening to it, but I grew up playing because of my school. So I'm just like that nerdy band kid that kept, well, I don't know. I think we had a really cool squad, actually. I think the band kids had it going on, at least in my school. But we did marching band and all that stuff. My first instrument was actually violin, so I played that pretty much up until college as well. And was singing a little bit too, and acting, doing musical theater, anything creative, dancing. I was a dancer too and an athlete. So I didn't know that music was going to be my career, but I'm very glad that it was, and got more serious about it in college.
Yeah. You mentioned marching band. What did you play sax in marching band or?
Yeah, so I played saxophone in marching band. And then I picked up the bass clarinet because my band director thought it would be cool to add that texture. And when you're a woodwind player, it's a lot easier to kind of like double or triple or quadruple, just kind of to learn anything. Like I actually just got a penny whistle.
Oh, nice.
I've been learning that because they're all in the same family. So even though bass clarinet is pretty different, it's similar enough. So I was marching with that, which looked ridiculous and also so cool at the same time. But yeah, saxophone was like my main instrument aside from violin.
Yeah, it's funny because it's funny how band directors just single people out and they're like, "Now you play this instrument." Because when I played when I was in elementary school, my first instrument was a trumpet, and then I played clarinet. And I played clarinet for a while, but then I just stopped playing. But then a bunch of my friends were going to band camp for marching band, and they were like, "You should come with. They'll like put cymbals in your hand. You don't have to do anything. They just need people to march." So I was like, "All right." So I show up. Band director first day goes, "Do you play any instruments?" And I was like, "Well, I played a little clarinet and I played trumpet in fourth grade." And he was like, "Cool." Yep. He goes, "Here's a baritone." And I was like, "What?" And so I had my section leader had to transcribe every single thing of music that we played to what fingering it was, and he would work with me, and that was literally like two fantastic years of my life.
That's awesome. Thrown to the fire. Do you have any camp stories?
Yes, shareable. Some. Yeah. I will say the pinnacle of band camp to me though was my senior year. We played we competed in the Fiesta Bowl, and we took second. And we our show that year was the music of John Williams. It was like the most, and it was like Sun Devil Stadium. It was like the most magical thing in the world. But yeah,
that's really cool. We didn't get that serious, but we did do like one local competition a year, and it was high stakes. But yeah, some marching bands go crazy. Like they are so professional. I'm sure it sounds like yours was like kind of in that playing field. Like so serious and great and impressive. And I mean, it's a really cool art form. It's really, really cool. We didn't have it when in college. Otherwise, I would have done it because my school, it was a smaller school. We didn't even have a football team. But if we did, I would have done it for sure.
Yeah, I loved it so much, and like you said, it is a great art form, and even like the drill designs and stuff like that, because I didn't know going into it. I was just like, I don't know, you guys march in parades or something. That's it, like that's what you do. But by the time I was out, like I was trying to draw my own drill. I started a kazoo and slide whistle marching band for a while. Yeah.
Oh my God. Do you have any videos of that?
I certainly do not.
I wish you did. That's so cool. You guys like marched in like parades or something?
We no for the kazoo and slide whistle. It was just like during band camp breaks and stuff like that. We would do that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I was super cool in high school. If you can't
Yeah,
tell.
sounds like it. Me too. Both of us.
But you touch on something very important there, which is music in schools, which is something that like I'm a big champion of because like I feel like that's part of not just learning how to perform, but learning how to listen and engage with music is lost with the kind of cutting and gutting of music programs.
For sure. I feel like it's all about having the right teacher too. I mean, it's about having the program to begin with, and then having good teachers that are like keeping you on track as far as like some kind of foundational, like typically classical curriculum, because I think that is important for the foundation, especially of an instrument like saxophone. But it's like, yeah, not having that, I like, how would kids even know to pick up, like, at least now we have the internet and we have the most access that we've ever had to creation of music. So like kids can get into like electronic music production and things like that. But like otherwise, unless you're in a community of musicians or you grow up that way, it's really sad. Like I can't imagine not having had the opportunity to play music. So like in school. So yeah, it's unfortunate that, and I'm a champion of that too. And I realize that as I've gotten older, because I've taught a little bit, and I even like I've gone back to my schools and like done assemblies and things like that with the kids, and it makes me even more, it makes it feel even more important to me, and I feel even more connected with these kids because I'm like, I remember when we would have assemblies and some professional musicians or whatever would come to the school and do a presentation. I'll never forget that. I remember that to this day. So I know that I'm making that impression on them. And growing up, I never saw a girl with flaming red hair playing saxophone in stadiums and arenas. So it's like to be that for them all through the facilitation of the music program. It's like, that's invaluable. And I hope that we can continue. I hope that we can like prioritize that even more. I know that that's like the first thing that goes when it comes to, budgets in
Yeah.
school.
And like it also like not just its availability, but the like lower income students, sometimes that's their only way to partake and to learn music.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the great leveler. Public school
Because
classes.
instruments are expensive too. So even if their parents want them to like get into music, kind of hard to find instruments. And then, I mean, especially like with the saxophone, that's another thing that I always say to people who are asking me, just some advice, like, what would you suggest, for my kid who's just picking up saxophone, or even, for adults that are asking me. And I'm like, first thing you have to do is, especially if you're buying it online or wherever, bring it to a professional that can make sure that it's up and running well, and ask them advice on your setup, because there's a lot of components that go into it, the reeds, the mouthpiece, all these things can make it like impossible to play if it's not, if it's not well set up.
Definitely.
And that is the first thing too, that kids might have a saxophone or some kind of instrument and they can't get a sound out of it. And so then they just put it down and they give up. And it's like, unless they have somebody who's going to be like, helping them through that, like, no, all you have to do is this, then we're losing people on music.
Yeah, it's absolutely. That's like the an amazing tip too, because like I remember, I when I learned how to play guitar, I was playing on like really junky guitars, and I remember the first time I sat down on and got to like play an actual like real guitar, and I was like, wait a minute, it's not me. It like like I sound so much better than I thought I did. Like,
Exactly. And I run to that. I still run into that now as a professional, and it's like I take a lot of pride in my setup, but it's like I even in the past couple of years, I've changed things about my setup, and it's like I realized, oh wow, there were things that certain high notes that I was trying to hit, all these things. I'm like, oh, it was just my setup. Like I don't actually suck that bad. So yeah, like and of course I have the discipline and the patience as a professional and as an adult. But yeah, for children, it's just so important to like help guide them and walk them through that process. So we need a lot more of that.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that I really appreciate about you and I really dig about you, and this is what came up. I was mentioning before we started that I co-host this show with Bruce Warren from WXPN called Too Old, Too New. And it's a music discovery podcast where each week we bring 2 old songs and 2 new songs that we've been listening to and present it to the audience. And Therapy was my pick a few weeks ago. And yeah, well, it's a fucking banger, man. Like...
Thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank you. But one of the things I talked about during it was that, like, there was a time in the 70s, early 80s where I feel like the sax was in popular music left and right. Like, it was everywhere, and it wasn't odd or out of place to hear it, right? Whereas now, the fact that, like, not only do you play saxophone, but you play it in pop music, and you like you're cool, like you're a cool person. You know what I mean? Well, you present cool. We'll put it that way.
I'll take it.
But like it gives kids a chance to see that, like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to just play guitar, or I don't have to just play the keyboards or something like that. Like, there is options that it's like it's not just what you see in a standard 4-piece.
Totally.
So like what, I guess, how did you get there? How did you get from, marching band and classical into, no, I want to be able to kind of still also make the music I love with this?
Well, when I got, like I said before, when I got into college, that's when I started actually playing and performing for the first time. And when I say that, I mean, like, in a non just school setting. Like, that was when I started, like, learning how to improvise and playing jazz music and learning standards and chord progressions and learning how to sing and lead a band and communicate with other musicians. And then I started writing music as well. So what really inspired me was, like, the music that we were playing. So it was, like, very fusiony, like it was jazz standards, which then led to learning, like, about, like, modern jazz and fusion and things like that. And then I also discovered D'Angelo and Erykah Badu in college, and I got super into, like, R&B and neo soul. And so that was, like, what I really wanted to write at first. It was like this kind of like progressive R&B meets jazz with pop melodies, because I used to listen to Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera growing up. So I love that stuff. And so I wasn't even doing any rock music until I started working professionally. And then especially when I joined this band that I'm a part of now called Bill Murray. So I joined that project in kind of like during the pandemic in a way, because I did some remote recordings on, so Johnny Frank leads that project, and on his album 400 Pound Back Squat, I recorded a little bit. And then once the band started touring, then I became a part, like a member. So that really opened up my eyes to, just because I play saxophone and I'm from New York and there's an expectation of me to play jazz music, that doesn't mean that I have to do that. So I love playing jazz music, but I do not consider myself a jazz musician per se. And I think in the last few years, it's been amazing to, like, really kind of find my lane and really carve out a new lane. Like, notice that not only is there a lack of this, of like pop rock saxophone in this type of music, but the way I present as well, we just need more female representation, especially with an instrument like this that is, like, more male dominated particularly. But that all just happened naturally. Like, it wasn't really intentional. It was just like, I wanted to say yes to things and things that were exciting me. And in that time, I found, like, man, I'm good at this. Like, there's a lot of different musical lanes that I can take. But now I'm starting to find, like, what speaks to people, what's, like, resonating with people, what's inspiring people. And it's certainly a big aspect of that has been the pop and the rock music.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like I said, I feel like it used to be everywhere, and it's so it like I understand that trends and blah 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 blah, but like there's like a good period of time where the only time you hear really horns was like the big band craze of the late '90s, and ska music, and that was like it. So I gotta ask, with that, at any point were you in a ska band?
No, actually. I used to
Interesting.
I used to go to like Warped Tour and see like ska band, like Less Than Jake. I remember like seeing them a bunch of times, but I didn't really get too into ska. I like it in a live setting, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, yeah. See, you dodged a bullet. No, no, I won't say dodged a bullet because I'm a big ska fan. So it's it's self-deprecating humor, but
I feel you. No, I know there's a lot of ska gets a bad rap for sure, but I mean, I think I'm trying to blend elements with the music that I'm writing with N Rose right now. It's interesting. Like we just wrote this song that has very much like a ska chorus, like the type of and it's saxophone, but it's a lead saxophone, and it's not like a group like the typical like ska thing that you would expect. But I'm trying to incorporate that because it's fun. Like that's what's super cool about ska is, yeah, you're combining pop punk with horns, but ultimately it's a fun party. So I like that because also what I've realized from performing is like the early music that I was writing, which was very like it was more smooth, like R&B and jammy and stuff like that. Um, I still love doing that, but ultimately I want people to be like screaming lyrics in my face. And so I'm like, okay, that's the feeling that I like to have when I'm seeing a show. And so I want to now my music has to be reflective of that experience that I want to bring. So yeah, combining those things in with it. And saxophone, again, it's perfect for that because there's so many different things that you can do with it. And it's been so fun to like explore. And I'm so happy that I have this instrument.
yeah, it's killer. Like finding your sound is always like to me. I always like to say that like I'll never find my sound as a musician, and I don't want to because then that's when I'm just becoming a kind of cliche of myself.
Mhm.
Um, but it's very interesting to me watching. I don't want to say. I'm trying to figure out the perfect way to word this. Watching, listening to some of your earlier stuff and listening to the new stuff, and it's not just musically that I think you're finding yourself, but it seems like you're becoming more comfortable being a front person, being, playing an instrument that historically is kind of a side person,
For
role.
sure. For sure. And in the early N Rose tunes, um, it was definitely like I was using horns as just like part of the arrangement. Um, and that was really fun. It was fun to arrange, like to do horn arrangements with, alto and soprano and tenor and then flute and all that stuff. But that doesn't translate to the setup that I have live, which is I don't have a horn section. And I'm the only sax player. And so now it's like, I don't necessarily want to write music in the studio only solely based on what we can accomplish live, because I think we can always figure it out. But now instead, you're absolutely right. Like writing it where the voice, it's still vocal music. It's still like a lot of, mainly pop format music with obviously a lot of different styles coming in. But yes, using saxophone as more of a prominent voice, more of a prominent instrument. Um, and that's just not something that I like. I didn't think of that in the
Yeah,
beginning, but I'm not the first person to have done it because,
sure.
yeah, you have, like all of 80s pop rock was that, like Billy Joel and Rick Springfield and, Bruce Springsteen and all that stuff. Men at Work. It's like, yeah, the lead sax. So trying to bring that back now.
Yeah, well, you're doing an incredible job at it. How much of kind of because I feel like that comes from growth in confidence as well. How much of that do you think came from playing out, or and how much of it do you think came from like the socials, like working? You have a a strong reach on the internet and a quality following. Like, was it equal parts, or was there something that just one day clicked?
I think it's kind of equal parts because so like COVID happened, and before COVID, I was starting to put out some content. But it was definitely content that was like, how do I impress my music friends? You know what I mean? So I was like doing all this like complex, like not only video editing, but like, arranging a song from scratch, like that. It was just like, it was great practice, and I'm still really proud of it. But then TikTok came out and it was like, oh, all of a sudden things are really simple. Like there's no editing. People are just, and there were hardly any musicians on it at first. But the ones that I did see on it that were inspiring me, I was like, oh, they're just like playing. Like they're just like playing along to like some of the pop music and whatever. So once I started doing that, I went viral like really quickly. I did this I added like a sax solo to Olivia Rodrigo's Driver's License, which was like the first big TikTok hit. Like that came directly from the TikTok community. So that was like a big deal. And that's when I like also realized like, okay, I don't need to be overthinking it too much. I don't need to be so proficient at this and at guitar and at producing and all these things. Like maybe I could just like play and then people might like it. And that's exactly what happened. And so, yeah, I think I just like, it took both that and then performing live a lot more to just get more comfortable with like accepting that I don't need to be like, the greatest musician in the world that's proficient on every single instrument. That's part of my journey, but it's not a pressure that I need to put on myself in order to like make people feel something good from my music.
That's cool. No, it's super cool. Like it's wild. Like it's something I've never truly been able to crack, which is an odd thing to say as somebody who puts out a professional or tries to put out a professional podcast as frequently as I do. But like the social game is just something I've never really understood because I think I might just be a little too old. Is really what it comes down to. I can't
Makes you
think.
feel any better? I feel like I'm already growing out of it. Like I already feel like I can't keep up, and I'm so confused. So you're not alone.
Okay, well that's good. It's good to hear, especially for somebody who's had success with it. It's just tough because like this is one of the things that I think you're very successful with. So is something I was really looking forward to talking to you about, which is everybody says well you got to do this, you got to do that on the socials and stuff like that. But everything that I see that people tell me to try seems to lend itself to boosting the content itself, but the conversion to a podcast listener, I never see. Like it's not something I see there. Now I know it's different with music because you can remix the songs and stuff like that and all. But like, I guess has there ever been conscious thought in what you do into getting people to listen to the music, or is it just I put this content out, people enjoy this content, and then they're going to come find the music?
I think it's like the slow game, because I haven't ever had an original song go viral. Like I feel like that's the goal for everybody. That's the fast track of like, you put out a little snippet of a song or a snippet of you playing it live, and then it just blows up and everybody listens and everybody becomes a fan for life and you become rich and you tour the world and you're set. That's the dream. But I think I've accepted so that I don't drive myself nuts that may not ever happen, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth it to still put out the content around the music. So I do feel like it's a little bit of the long game. But what drives me is I'm like, no one will ever really understand like what went into the creation of this song. And certainly like other musicians can understand, and other creatives who know like how much behind the scenes work goes into like, it's like the iceberg analogy. Like here's, the water and like, this is how much you see, but then this is how much how big it actually is. So, I guess I'm just like, I know that this might not work. I know that even if I post a little snippet of an original song, the algorithm's not going to pick it up because they don't know what it is. But it's been the long game. And I've noticed at the very least, I know that there's been growth from when I first started putting out music in 2021, like mid 2021 to now. There's definitely growth. And there's also a lot of like silent supporters that they might not be in the comments. They might not even be liking all the time, but they're seeing it. Like they know what's going on. And I just appreciate that a lot. So like trying to like just humbly move forward, knowing that the conversion might not always, like the numbers might not always reflect, but I know that slowly we're making an impact. And even if a handful of people really like a song, that's still like really cool, you know?
Yeah, that's comforting. That is comforting. Like I think it does come down to patience also because I'm an impatient person and I'm
I'm
like
super impatient too, but I'm trying not to be. I'm trying to just like, but I totally feel you. And it's interesting because I feel like, yeah, maybe from the outside, it seems like, I have it together and I have this like system but yeah, I certainly don't. And it's, even though it's a lot, things are a lot better than, we're making progress, but it's hard to ever be satisfied. You'll never really be satisfied when you're a creative, I feel like.
well, that's definitely true. I've long since said that I could be the most successful person in the world and I'd still go, but one more person? I don't, like
Exactly. Yeah.
So, the one of the things that I've found absolutely interesting is how did this Jonas Brothers thing come about? How did you end up in the Jonas Brothers touring band?
So it was totally out of the blue. I was actually on another tour. I was just starting the Bill Murray tour back last summer. And it was early July, I think it was. Yeah. And I got a text so basically I just randomly got a text from Chase Foster, the music director, but he had gotten my number and my name from the trumpet player who ended up also accepting the job. And his name is Mikey Sarian. And I had done a couple of brass band busking gigs in New York City with him. So there's this band called Triad Brass, and they're great. They're like this high energy brass band with, sousaphone and then three more horns and drums, playing in the streets and getting people dancing. And so I had done a few gigs with them, and so had Mikey. He was playing with them a lot at the time. And so I just made it onto his list of recommendations when Chase approached him he was looking to, put together a brand, like basically double the size of the band that Jonas Brothers already had. So that would include a couple more backup singers, a whole horn section, as well as percussion and cello. So he was just kind of like putting the band together. And I made it onto Mikey's recommendation list. And I ultimately got the phone call, which it really kind of happened out of nowhere. And by the next day I had said, yes, I would like to do this. And then the brothers, confirmed me, and we were, yeah, good to go. It was wild because the Jonas Brothers are the first. I was a huge fan. Like I am still a fan, but I think it's so crazy the way everything worked out because like when I was young, they were the first they were the first band I ever saw live in concert. So very full circle. And not only that, and I had even like dressed up as Kevin Jonas, like with my friends. We were the Jonas Brothers for Halloween when I was like in middle school. And, they put out this new album called The Album last year in 2023. And I loved it so much. And it was produced by a Long Island king, like somebody like his name is John Bellion, who I'm sure you've heard of, an amazing artist on his own, but then also an amazing producer. So that kind of added the level of like, oh my God, this is so cool. Cause like I love John and I love his work. And I think this is so perfect for the Jonas Brothers. So I got back into them and like started getting obsessed with them again. And then only a few months later, I got the call to join them on tour.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. Like, it is weird. I've had these experiences with this podcast. Now it hasn't taken me across the globe or anything, but like where, where people who I grew up on and people I idolize are now like some of my friends, and it doesn't like, it still doesn't make sense to me how like, in such a short period of time, I went from, just being a guy in the audience going, that's the coolest dude in the world, to going, oh, that's just my friend,
Exactly. It's really wild. It's really wild. And like life has been so different since then. And it hasn't even been a year at this point. It was a year ago that that I had kind of just found out that I was going, and that I was like getting the music a little bit and just like planning my life. But in such a short period of time, so much opened up for me and so much happened. And exactly, then your perspective shifts, because like now it's like they're my peers, they're also my bosses, and they're such well-respected musicians still. I'm still a fan of theirs, but it's like now we hang out. Sometimes
Right.
I've met through this whole thing, I've met idols of mine. And same thing with like performing live. It's like before, I think the biggest crowd that I had ever performed to was just a couple months before that on the Bill Murray tour. We had headlined a festival in Dallas, and it was just like maybe 3,000 people, which felt like so much at the time, still is a lot. But then my first show with Jonas Brothers were 2 sold out nights at Yankee Stadium for like, what was it, 50,000 people. So now I'm like so used to playing for like 85,000 people.
It's crazy. This is just crazy numbers. Absolutely crazy numbers. Here's another weird thing that I got to ask, which is to that, touring with the Jonas Brothers, Lawrence was opening for them for quite some time. How do you get all those kind of horns in it? Like, was there any backstage jams of just the Lawrence / Jonas Brothers horn section jams? Because
So I will say, well, first of all, that's another full circle thing, because I've been a fan of Lawrence since day one, like huge fan of theirs. And now they're great friends of mine as well. So that was crazy. And I had known them a little bit personally. And I know that, they also work with John Bellion. So that was that connection. So once I found out that they were going to be on the tour, I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm about to tour with 2 of my favorite bands of all time. Like that is crazy. As far as our backstage hangs, so what I will say about Lawrence is they hustle. They work so hard, and they've really built that band from the ground up. So like they are their own team. So they were working, like there wasn't a lot of time to hang. There's also a lot of moving parts. So like it was always just kind of like everything was on a schedule. So when we would hang, it would be like nothing to do with with music necessarily, but we had some great times on the road. And I like the time just went so fast. I do wish that we like collaborated more. But it was just great to like get to know them and like talk music stuff, but also just like talk life. And they're, they live here in New York, so we have that in common too. And yeah, but being surrounded by so many talented musicians, and also just being surrounded by like other horn players is just so fun. Like we're like kind of a breed of our own. So yeah, it was super fun like having them out there with us. I love them so much.
Yeah, they're great. Like, and that's another great release this year. Family Business sounds phenomenal. But so, speaking of releases, so I was completely shocked because, within Rose, you released the My Happiness EP, and then out of nowhere, Delusional comes out. And I'm like, yeah. What are you, just a content creator of not just videos, but also music in the studio? Holy crap. Like, what?
I've been in the studio a lot. So ever since I got back from like tour, so basically like that tour was like 4 months long, like pretty much like 4 months straight. Then we had the holidays. Then I escaped to the Catskills, and I just like got a chalet that I rented and just like relaxed by myself in the mountains and built fires and worked on some music stuff, played a little guitar, like, but I was just kind of like decompressing and like being with myself. And then once I got back from that, I had some music that I had written and some ideas, and I got right back in the studio with my main collaborator. His name is Anthony, and he's been part of the N Rose project from the beginning. And he was the one that encouraged me to do it because I had shown him some of my demos. Basically, we were just like starting to write some pop tunes together for maybe like some sync or like to sell to other artists or whatever. And then when I showed him the demos that I was working on, he was like, we should do this. So, and I wanted it to be a band. I didn't see myself as a solo artist, especially not at the time. And I was like, N Rose is a really cool name, so I want to do that. I was like, Gabi Rose is lame, so I'm gonna make N Rose. I don't think Gabi Rose is lame anymore, but yeah. So that he's been part of N Rose from the beginning, and he's like one of my best friends, and he's so talented. So yeah, we've been hustling, and I'm so happy with like, I mean, we have a bunch of songs on deck now that even though I'm going to be going out on tour for like kind of the rest of the year, I'm going to be releasing more N Rose tunes while I'm away.
Oh, it's awesome, and something perfect to look forward to. That I find that exciting. What's I guess, how do you, because you just said you're about to hit the road again, how do you kind of navigate spending enough time on your own stuff when you have your hand in so many kind of different creative aspects? Like, how is it difficult to be able to dedicate time to your own kind of passions?
It definitely is in a lot of ways, because touring is like it's full on, and it's time consuming, and the travel is very tiring as well. And my main focus while being on tour has to be like making sure that I'm keeping myself in shape, and that I'm keeping myself healthy, and that I'm showing up well, and that I'm performing as best as possible. So, I mean, it's definitely like a routine that you can get in, which is good. But yeah, it can be hard to like write on the road. I've definitely done it. And I at least try to just like journal while I'm on the road, just to like keep my ideas flowing. But I feel like compared to other musicians, I haven't been touring for that long. Like, I started touring with Bill Murray in 2022. And for that whole year, it was just kind of shorter spurts. You with Jonas Brothers, it's certainly like longer tours, and Bill Murray is going to be going on our longer tours as well now. So I feel like it's always changing, to answer your question. Like, I'm not sure. I would like to be able to continue some of my like writing routines, but I'm also the kind of person that like, I love to just like, I love the hang of being on the road, and I love to like explore all the new cities and be really present with the people that I'm with. Cause I've been really lucky that I'm always touring with the best people. Like, some people have like miserable touring experiences and they feel really alone. And I have like great families in both Bill Murray and Jonas, just people that I love to spend time with. So I'm always like, I want to be present and I want to be mindful. And if that means that some of my writing or some of my work or even some emails like have to be put off, like this could be a once in a lifetime thing. Like I'm like, I don't know, after this tour, like, this exact configuration of people and venues and places, like I might not ever have this again. So I want to like really enjoy it now while I can. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I want to stay disciplined without putting too much pressure on myself.
I think that's the best approach, and like you said, like it's it's not like you're sacrificing it for something you're not enjoying. So exactly. Like I get, yeah, like it makes sense. So what is the, you said you have some more singles to trickle out, but what is the plan? Do you want to cut an album, or is it single EP whenever you get a chance, or?
I want to do an album so bad, but I'm also like, I love the momentum of releasing singles because it keeps that momentum. It's like, okay, we finished this one song and then we're putting it out, and it's like you get that feedback, you get that like it keeps the ball rolling. And N Rose isn't my full-time thing right now. So like, because even though I'm a songwriter and I'm an artist and I'm a band leader, I'm also just a humble musician who loves to just like I'll take on anything if it's enjoyable. Like I never expected to be in a band like Bill Murray. I never expected to be playing with Jonas Brothers. And I feel so like grateful. And even I still do like weddings and I still do like private events and things like that, which I love doing. So like I want to show up my best in all those things. And, like I think singles right now is helping inform what kind of music is working for us. And it's just a kind of more sustainable way to keep the ball rolling while I'm preoccupied with some of these other projects. So I think when I have more time, if I ever have more time, when it feels right, or at least the better answer is when it feels right, do an album. But I want that album to really be like a cohesive body of work where like everything, like we go into it being like, we know we have, or not that we know what our sound is, because like you said before, which I agree, you never really figure it out. But I think we're getting close to that though. So like even the way I'm approaching singles right now, we're still getting creative and we're still stretching, but we have a lane that we're driving in. And I think that's important for whenever it's album time, we'll have a good idea, a good sense of what we like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. Like there is no reason to rush it. And like you said, like, the paradigm on the way that we consume music and stuff like that, it doesn't negate the album, but like the single and the EP like makes sense because like why would you sit on something? Why would you disappear for 6-7 months to kind of hold back? You don't want to. You're not really gifted the opportunity to disappear. You know what I mean? Like, because things move so fast now.
They do. And also like N Rose hasn't toured. So like I want to tour and I would want to tour around an album. So like, I mean, if a tour opportunity comes up, we certainly have the music to do so. But like I want to do it in that way where like when we're putting out an album, we're ready for that, we're going on the road. So yeah, right now we're just kind of still in the baby stages and getting the music together and just doing what we can. But I love the idea of an album because that's like like my wall right here. Like albums are everything. Albums are like what I come back to when I'm like, what am I feeling right now? What's going on in my life? Albums are nostalgic. Albums take me back to certain times in my life. And like, I want that for sure. I want this project to have that. So at some point we will.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to hear. All right, so we'll jump into the Jauntlet questionnaire, but before we get there, I got one last thing that I'm just going to put out there, and it's should you happen to talk to your pals Kevin and Joe and Nick, please tell them to bring back the Jonas TV show, which was one of my favorite things that has ever existed.
Oh my God, you watched that? You did?
Oh, my God. So like, let me explain this. I have two hot takes that people laugh at me and think I'm joking about, but I am 1000% serious. And the one is that Spice World is the new millennium Hard Day's Night. And it's two, that the Jonas TV show, specifically before Jonas in LA, or Jonas LA, but the original incarnation of the Jonas Brothers TV show was a modern day Monkees that was so incredible. Because I'm a big Monkees fan. So that's like a little side thing. But yes, I was a big fan of that show.
That's amazing. And I definitely like agree with those takes. And it was, yeah, I mean, it was so great for them at the time too, because it's like, they're so funny. Like before that show, they were like they were doing like live streams to however you did live streams at the time. Like, I don't even know. Or they were like going on like whatever it was, like Uvu or whatever. And they were putting out like YouTube videos that were so going viral and like so stupid but funny at the same time, that it's like they were born for that. And Yeah, I mean, what's so cool about their career too is like we do songs from Camp Rock while like on the road, like in these live, because that was so huge back then, and people still want to hear those songs. So it's like, I'm with you though. I will tell them.
Yeah. Tell
I'll
them
tell
I said it. And then they'll
Yeah,
do it. Then they'll do it.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, Nick's on Broadway, Nick's in movies and he's on Broadway, but like I'm sure he would prefer to do another Jonas show.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I still to this day. Do you guys do Pizza Girl? Because that was one of my favorites from the
Well,
show.
I know. That's why I was like, oh, Pizza Girl. No, but people will hold up signs saying that they want Pizza Girl. So maybe one day we'll see.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm glad there's other lunatics out there like me.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone.
It's awesome. All right, so at this time we'll enter the Jauntlet. This is my questionnaire that I cap off all of my interviews with. It starts with the one hit wonders, and it starts with Billy Joel or Elton John. Who do you prefer?
That's really hard. I guess I would say honestly, I would say Elton John. By a hair. I would say Elton John by literally a hair.
Are you allowed to be on Long Island and make that statement?
I know. I thought that crossed my mind just now because I'm like, I'm not allowed. But I mean, Billy Joel's music is the most unique, timeless. Like every song is like I think, yeah. I mean, there's so much that I could say, but I think Elton John's music was more inspiring to me as an artist. Billy Joel as a listener, but Elton John as an artist.
That's definitely fair. I like that. I appreciate it. The next one, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Joan Jett.
Yeah, I'm a big Joan Jett. Here's another one of my takes. Everybody's probably sick of hearing me say this, but did you ever see the Joan Jett film Light of Day? It's her and Michael J. Fox.
No, I have to add that to the list for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But my one of my latest takes is I want to remake Light of Day, and in the Joan, because they play brother and sister, I want to remake it with Phineas and Billie Eilish.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that would be epic. Yes.
Yeah. Just I keep saying it because I want to put it out into the universe until it happens.
Okay, manifest.
That's right. That's exactly right. Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
Aretha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her music made more of a mark, but Tina's so fun. And I think I love Tina more from a performance standpoint. So I take a lot of notes from Tina as far as that, putting on a show. But I think Aretha's music was more inspiring, and her voice.
For sure. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Nirvana for sure. Like, yeah, all day. Nirvana, yeah. I don't even have to explain. Yeah.
Did I see doing my notes? Big Dave Grohl fan. Did I get that right?
Huge. Dave Grohl. He's my god, basically. Like, and it sounds so stupid to say that, but like, I think what I love so, aside from everything that he's done in music. Did you happen to read his book, The Storyteller?
Not yet, no.
You have to. It's so incredible. It's so inspiring. And Dave Grohl is the quintessential, like, example, I think, for what every musician should be. The way he talks about music, the way he looks at music, the way he relates it to his life, his positive spin on everything, his longevity, the fact that he's a family man and he's been able to balance all this. The things that he's gone through, the loss that he's had, and he still just keeps coming back to music. Like, he is so inspiring to me. He's definitely my number one. So yeah, big Nirvana, Foo Fighters fan.
Yeah. The one thing that stands out to me about Dave Grohl, and this is one, like, I've seen the Foo Fighters a lot live, which is surprising to me because like it's just like people are like, Foo Fighters in town, you want to go? And it's like, yeah, of course I do. But one of the things is, to this day, I still see a guy who appreciates that he gets to be where he is every day.
Exactly. He never takes it for granted. He's so excited. Yeah. I love it.
That's cool. Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Janis Joplin. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I love, actually, I'm going to say it's a tie.
Valid. That's valid.
Yeah.
That's valid. The big cliche, Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles.
Okay.
I would say, I think if you asked me 5 years ago, I definitely would have said the Stones, but now it's hands down the Beatles.
All right. I dig it. The last one of the one hit wonders, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Stairway to Heaven.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Every once in a while, I like to throw an audible in here and just add one specifically for whoever the guest is, and it's somewhat guest specific. So for you, I will ask Kevin, Joe, or Nick.
You know I'm gonna get fired if I answer that.
Look, I had to try.
I love them all. Like I really mean that. I'm not even just saying that so that I won't get in trouble. Like they're all very sweet boys.
That's
And
fair.
I've learned a lot from all three of them, and I can appreciate all three of them equally, truly.
I
Great.
dig it. I dig it. The second half of this is the top 10 countdown. In this, we use Jawn to be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything in the world. The first one, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were a kid?
My first Jawn, because I'm learning the Philly lingo. God, the first thing I was obsessed with, I should have prepared for this question. First thing I was obsessed with was probably like destroying my clothes and destroying my room. I was like an artist to like in a disgusting way. Like I would just make a mess of anything and try to put it back together. So I would say I was obsessed with that, with like changing up my clothes and cutting it like crazy and dyeing my hair and learning how to do weird makeup and piercing my own ears. And yeah, that was my first obsession.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that so much. Number two, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
Right now I'm pretty obsessed with going on long walks, which I never did before. Really appreciate long walks. And if I don't get one in the day, I feel really weird. And then also I've been playing soccer again and just kind of kicking the ball around. So that's been really nice because I haven't really done that since like high school.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Was that your sport in high school, soccer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I did
And-
volleyball and track and dance too, but yeah, soccer was always my main sport. So it's cool to get back to it.
That's
Gotta try
awesome.
not to hurt myself.
Soccer was my drive too. Until
Yeah.
I injured my knee not playing soccer. I was jumping parking curbs and I fell off and and tore my MCL. But
Wait, you were
that's
jumping them on a bike or something?
no. Just hopping from one parking curb to the other. Yeah, no, it was dumb. It was really dumb. But it ended my soccer career.
Oh no. What was your position?
I played a lot of halfback. Like I was like that was my thing. They put me in goalie early on, and my dad still to this day likes to make fun of me because, well, not anymore. He passed away, but he used to love to make fun of me because I would just be back there, like if the ball wasn't anywhere around, just like staring up at the sky, and
Yeah.
like, no, I was never paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the goalie's job is just like you do nothing until you have to do everything, and then
Everything. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's not, I have too much ADHD in my brain to focus on that. But it's funny because now I'm just thinking about it, and right over my shoulder behind this curtain over here is all my old soccer trophies. So.
Oh my God, I think we got rid of mine, which is so sad. I'll have to accumulate more trophies.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I should incorporate it into the background here at some
You
point.
should.
Yeah, a little trophy case. Number three, you actually answered. Your first concert was the Jonas Brothers, which is an amazing circle.
Jonas Brothers and Miley Cyrus / Hannah Montana on the best.
Nice. The Best of Both Worlds tour. Not that I know what that is, but I'm going to pretend like I don't.
Honestly, though, epic part of history. And
I believe it.
that I got to like that was her coming out tour. That was like as far as coming out, we all knew it was Miley Cyrus, obviously, but started her like real solo career. And she's a huge, she was huge for me back then, still is. So yeah, them two on the tour together. That was great for me.
What was the song they did together on that tour? Was that like We Got the Party? Was that like
We got the party. Oh wait, no.
No.
I'm thinking Pumping Up the Party now. Yeah, wait, we get the party started. What is it again?
I can't remember. It's been a while. I got to revisit. That was a good live album. That's a good live. I'm gonna put that in my my ranking of too old, too new. That might have to be.
I think it's like, come on, guys, tell me what you're doing.
Yep.
Hang around where we could be all over the place. And then Joe comes in and he's like, the sun is shining just the way we like it.
Yes, 1000%. That's amazing.
Great tune.
It is a great tune. You know, I work my Clark Kent day job. I work in a warehouse, and anytime, uh, uh, anytime somebody says, "I don't know, man," everybody makes mistakes. I always hear my coworkers go, "Oh no, here it goes," and I'm like, "Everybody has bad days, and it's got to go. I got to go the whole way through, man." Like,
I'm so happy that you do that, truly. Because not everybody does that. But if I was in the room when you did that, I'd be joining along. I'd be singing along.
everyone knows what I'm talking about, you know?
Everybody gets that way.
Oh my god, I'm selling out all of my cool points again. The next one, number 4. What was your last concert? What was the last live show you went to?
I saw Paris at Irving Plaza. Are you familiar with that band?
No.
So, the lead singer, her name is Lynn Gunn, and they had put out, I don't remember when their first album was, but it's very like, it's rock, it's cool, beautifully produced pop rock music. And she's definitely like taken it in a even more like, kind of dark pop direction. And I'm a really big fan of that band and their sound. So that was the last concert. Actually, I was supposed to see Foo Fighters this Friday in 2 days, but and Rose is playing a festival, so it's too bad. Foo Fighters are gonna have to
I guess that's a valid reason to miss it.
It's valid. It was a hard decision to make, honestly, but we did it.
That's fair. That's fair. Number 5. What was your favorite concert? Best live show you ever saw?
Oh, best live show. You know, I'm wearing the shirt. I have to say Eagles. That changed me. They sounded like unbelievable. And it was just incredible to see all those legends on stage, both young and new, like their sons and everything like that. And Doobie Brothers opened up for them, which like, yeah, I would say it's hard to choose my favorite because I just love live music, but I guess I would say the Eagles. Yeah.
That's awesome. I dig that. Number 6. Who have you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead.
D'Angelo.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll ever get to see him. He does his own thing. And but I think he's still living here in New York. He did some pop-up thing at a small venue here a few years back, and I was on the road. I couldn't even go, and it was like very quiet. It was very like it wasn't like advertised very much. So if he does that again, I will definitely make it a point to try and go.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm going to throw this out there. If you haven't heard it yet, because I know you love neo soul, but have you heard the Bilal live album that just came out recently? It's Bilal, it's Questlove, it's Robert Glasper, and it's, oh my gosh, I forgot his name again. I forget, but it's live at Glass House, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It made me so nostalgic for that time period of the Soulquarians and all of that stuff, of that whole Electric Lady, Erykah Badu, and you know,
Absolutely. Okay, I'm adding it to the list. Yes,
check it out. I'd love to know what you think of it. It's great. It's really great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm here for. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn, something you wish had more attention to it.
Something I wish had more attention to it, in music wise, or just like in general?
In general, anything you want it to be.
I wish that we had more attention to like, I want to get back to like kind of how I said that I used to like fuck with my own clothes and stuff like that, but I never really like got good at that. I would like for us to draw more attention to that art form, because I've watched some documentaries recently on just like how bad the mass production of fashion and like fast fashion has been. And it wasn't that long ago that people were making their own clothes at home. Like this wasn't a thing where people even went out and shopped for fashion and things like that. It wasn't accessible to people. I want that. I think that's an underrated thing. Everybody's making music and everybody's doing that, but it's like, I want more of that. Everyone knows how to do their own hair now. Everyone knows how to do their own makeup. Like there's so much DIY and I want more of that. I know that's such like a specific thing, but yeah. I would say
Yeah,
that.
no, that's incredible. And like I completely agree. I think my wife was just telling me she just heard, I want to say that they say that like fast fashion accounts for like 10% of what's in landfills or something, some like obscene number of.
Exactly. They just get dumped right back from like the countries that they were like manufactured at, and they don't even know what to do with it because there's just so much waste. Um, and yeah, so it would be good if we could learn how to do that in the same way that we do our own laundry.
Yeah, definitely. That's a fantastic answer. Number 8, what's your favorite album?
Let me just look at the
I was
wall.
just going to say, is it behind you?
It's certainly, I mean, I have a few, but yeah, I would say Brown Sugar by D'Angelo. Definitely. Whenever people ask me that question, obviously it's a hard answer, but that is an album that I can put on no matter what I'm feeling and no matter what's going on in my life. And I vibe with it just so hard and I never get tired of listening. I could listen to that album forever and not get tired of it.
Definitely. I'm all aboard on that. And completely agree. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release.
Whose output I'll consume anything they release. Somebody who doesn't miss. I don't know. I'm kind of fickle. Like I can't say that maybe there's not that many artists that I'm like, I like every single thing that they've this is a random one for me actually. Calvin Harris is somebody who every single song that I've ever heard from him is a banger. So I would say him. I'll always listen to any artist that he collabs with, any of the albums that he's put out, any of the singles. They're all a little bit different, but yeah, Calvin Harris doesn't miss for me.
That's a fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Side note here, something that I forgot to ask about. Like you do a lot of appearances and work with DJs.
Mhm.
How did that get started? Like, how did you find your way into that space?
That started because my first gig job out of college was actually in Barcelona. So I was there for a few months and I was doing like this restaurant gig where I was singing and playing and entertaining and speaking in Spanish somewhat and trying to get people to get up and dance and putting together set lists and like having a huge repertoire for 4 or 5 hours of music sometimes. And it was hugely excuse me, hugely intimidating and hard work. But in conjunction with that, that's when I got exposed and started being asked to play gigs with DJs, which I had never seen that before. And I'm pretty sure that that model certainly came out of Europe, maybe even Ibiza specifically, because it's huge in Ibiza. And so they do it really well there. And so that's when I got exposed to that. And then when I decided to come back to New York, and really like try and start my career here and see what would happen. I was like, I wonder if this exists there. And in no time, with me coming back to New York and having posted a few things on Instagram, I started getting these DMs from different DJs and, business owner, entertainment people like, hey, we're doing a show at Highline Ballroom. Will you play with the DJ? Whatever. So that's how I got into that. I also started doing like weddings and stuff with DJs here. And I didn't understand it at first because I was like, why am I here if the DJ is already playing all the music? But I realized it's there's a lot more to it than that. It's like having knowing how to play with the music and when to add and when to just sit in the pocket and when to solo and when to not and how to entertain. And I love electronic music. So I've been really lucky to work with some very, very, very talented DJs. And I want to do more of that at some point too. I kind of like go in and out. But I started learning how to DJ myself a few months ago. So we'll see where that goes. But
That's cool.
saxophone just sounds so cool with electronic music and house music. So
Yeah, that's sick. That's super sick. Like it is cool, and it adds an energy to a DJ set too that like sometimes just isn't there, and it's
exactly.
cool.
Because people want something live as well, like so having like because it's not even just saxophone. I've seen guitar players and then of course, singers and percussionists and drummers, like how chain smokers, they have a drummer that goes out with them on tour sometimes, like just adding that live music, filling the room with an organic sound element. It's such a cool blend.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's totally awesome. The 10th and final question of the Jawn Lid, the top 10 countdown. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, it can be anything you want it to be.
Music.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think music is the coolest thing ever, truly. And whenever I get a little bit like ass deep in the fact that it's like my career, and I could just kind of like take a bird's eye look at not only what I'm doing, but like just like listen to a song that I'm like, this song is so cool. Like this is like magical. I know that I'm, it's like that John Mayer song, like, am I living it right? I'm like, I'm definitely living it right for sure, because I'm making music my life.
That's awesome. Well said. And like I'm super excited, like I said, to see what you have in store in your future, because everything you've been putting out excited. Like I'm like probably part of it is a little bit of the marching band thing, whatever. But I am so glad to see like actual like brass or not woodwinds and coming back and horns and it's just we barely touched on it, but you're an incredible flautist. How do we do this?
Flautist, flute. I feel like flautist is like I feel like I'm not a flautist, but I'm a flute player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. So Delusional is out right now, as is the My Happiness EP, and you're promising more singles, and I can't wait to hear it. But thank you so much, not just for coming on and talking to me, but for representing instruments and music, and kind of paying it forward and inspiring the next generation to kind of. I feel like we're in good hands as long as people are looking up to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Nate. This was such a great conversation, and I appreciate you and I respect you so much, and your love for all things creative and music and art and just everything, and your vast knowledge and appreciation. So just the fact that you notice and appreciate what I'm doing is a huge honor. So thank you.
So much fun. My thanks again to Gabi for joining me on the show today. You can hear In Rose's latest single, Delusional, as well as their latest EP, My Happiness, on all major streaming platforms, or for purchase from their Bandcamp page at inrose.bandcamp.com. You can catch Gabi currently on tour with Bill Murray, with dates this week in New York, DC, and Toronto. Tickets and tour dates are available through www.billmurray.com. And of course, you can follow Gabi on the socials at Gabi Rose Music on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can follow In Rose at In Rose Music on Instagram and Facebook. Links to all of those are, of course, as always, in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And guys, it's never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for Citizenship of the World just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for the link tree with links to articles, merchandise, all of the previous episodes of this podcast, guest appearance on other podcasts, and more. And while you are there, please be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight into your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter X at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Well, I love you guys, and I very much hope that I see you sometime soon. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody. That's my Jawn. Displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. You taste it, things that don't need to be measured. Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production. Written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by me, under the moniker Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Maggie Poulos, Dan Drago, Natalie Runkle, and the beautifully vibrant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials at yothat'smyjawn. Until next time, Be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Tilt your head back and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.